everyone. Yesterday, on Tuesday the 1st of May, I took myself off to the Sunderland Empire Theatre and I went to go and see South Pacific. Now, this is a musical that I know absolutely nothing about. I do know it's like a very, very old musical. It's been around since like the 40s and 50s, I think. And it's by Rodgers and Hammerstein, and I hadn't planned to go at all while it was in Sunderland, but I found myself Monday night just booking a cheap restricted view seat in the stalls, and I thought, okay, this could be fun. So off I went, and I remember sitting in the show, and again I had rude people sat around me. You know what it's like when they're just talking, and the overture started, and I thought they might quieten down, but I had two women behind me who were like, natter, 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 and that just really annoys me. Just because the overture started, people seem to think, even though nothing's happening on stage, that that's still an excuse to carry on talking. It's not, shush. I'm actually trying to get a feel for the music and get into the spirit of it, and I just found my interest in it a little marred by rude people, really. But yeah, the overture started, and it had like a screen, and it had some sort of like soldier telling some sort of story about the South Pacific thing, and then it sort of dimmed a bit, and you saw like palm trees, and it went through like a day. It went from like sunrise to midday to sunset and night time, and then the curtain opened and the show started, and it was really good. Had Rebecca Thornhill, who's taken over from Sam Womack for Sunderland, as Nellie Forbush, and I had, who else did I have? I had Matthew Kamel as Emile de Beck, Alex Ferns as Luther Billis, Daniel Koek as Lieutenant Cable, Jodie Kimura as Bloody Mary, Elizabeth Chong as Liat, Cameron Jack as Stewpot, Luke Kempner as Professor, Dominic Taylor as Commander Harbison, and Nigel Williams as Captain Brackett, and obviously everyone else in the ensemble and swings. That's Rebecca Thornhill, and she and Matthew opened the show, of course, with what song was it? I can't even remember, and I was singing along with it. A Cockeyed Optimist and Some Enchanted Evening, and I know Matthew Kamel from him being in the Phantom of the Opera, though I'd never actually seen him, and his French accent was a bit thick at times, so I couldn't understand everything he was saying. Like, he was speaking in English but with a French accent, and sometimes it was a bit hard, but I thought he had a really good voice, and it was very, very old-fashioned romance between him and Rebecca Thornhill as Nellie, and she was really good. She had a line slip up later on in the show when she's with the commander and they're wanting to find out information on the meal, and she was like, do you suspect him of something or whatever? And that was really funny to me, just because I'm immature. Daniel Koek as the Lieutenant Cable, he was really good. I'd heard of him through chess, but I'd never seen or heard him, and I just loved it. Like, everyone in the cast was really good. The woman playing Bloody Mary, Jodie Kimura, did I say? Oh god, I'm so rude and so disorganised. Who is it? Bloody Mary, yeah, Jodie Kimura, she was hilarious. The kids were great as Emile's children. I mean, the storyline, for those that don't know South Pacific, it's about Nellie Forbush and Emile de Beck, and they're like in love, but he's really old, and then it's quite racial, really, because it's about Nellie not really being able to accept Emile has two children from a previous marriage to a Polynesian woman, so the children are black. And then Lieutenant Cable falls in love with Bloody Mary's daughter, Liat. But he refuses to marry her even though he loves her because of prejudices from his family back home. And I don't really want to spoil it, but there's a sad ending for one couple and a happy ending for the other couple. And the first half for me dragged on a bit. There were some good songs, and I washed that. I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair. That was a really good song, and all the nurses interacting, and you could see the friendship between them all. But yeah, it just seemed to drag a little bit. And then the second half started, and I was getting right into the story, and then it finished. And I was like, oh, that's a bit abrupt, but oh well, you know. At first as well, after I'd seen it and I was thinking about it, I'm thinking, it was good, but there was something lacking. And I realise now what that is. The show is amazing, but it doesn't have a special. It has a wow factor, but it's not extra special. You know, Wicked has the bubble and the defying gravity effect with Elphaba flying. It doesn't have any special effects like that. The choreography for South Pacific is pretty darn good, but then, I don't know, there's nothing extra specially wow about the dancing for me either in that. Legally Blonde's dancing and say What You Want and Top Hat and Singing in the Rain, all them have got these amazing dance sequences which South Pacific I don't think has. But even though it's not got special effects or extra special wow factor choreography, it's got a genuine heart to it, and it's real, you know. You see these characters and you can connect with them, and it's real, and it's just, yeah, it's lovely to watch. It's an old-fashioned high romance, and yeah, it's nice to see something like that, because it just brings you back to when you were a kid and you were watching Sound of Music, and if you were a kid and you watched South Pacific for the first time, and it's yeah, the kids singing Déteste-moi, I think it is, they were really cute. Seeing Nellie overcome her racial prejudices towards them was really, really nice. And then about, obviously, the soldiers going to war, thanks to the bravery of Emile and Lieutenant Cable. And it's just yeah, I just liked it. I mean, it's not one of my most favourite shows, but if it wouldn't be like a show go, right, I haven't seen a musical in ages, I'm gonna go and see South Pacific. It'd probably be quite not at the bottom of my list, because, you know, if I went, I'd be happy to see it, but I wouldn't intentionally go out and buy a ticket. If someone came up to me now and said, Kirsty, I've got a spare ticket for South Pacific tomorrow night, do you want to go? I'd probably say, yeah, okay then. So, yeah, I enjoyed it, but it's not my favourite, and I think it's worth seeing. I mean, it's a good tour, it's done well so far at London Barbican and around the country. Everyone around the country seems to love it, so I think it's well worth checking out, and it's another musical for me to cross off my list as having seen. So yeah, very good, and yeah, I might see it when it goes to Leeds, I'm not sure. Watch this space.